So today we are actually having the first ever session of the table. And so just to give a little bit of background, the table is hosted by me, Michaela Booker, the founder of Black Girls Politicking. And since its inception in 2020, Black Girls Politicking has been a space to amplify the work of Black women, to tell the stories of Black women, to educate other Black women, as well as the individuals that love us and support us. The work that is being done across this country, across the state of Texas, is such important work. And so, what I really wanted to do with the table is host a just a starting ground, a foundation point for individuals to join, to connect, to learn. I think that is so important. And there are so many things that we are passionate about. So as we get started with the first ever session of the table, we have honestly the most incredible guests. Let me just tell y'all, the way that I was first introduced to Shellie is through social media. It was through Threads, I believe. And it was just incredible to see the way in which she was fighting back on social media. And I love people who can get on social media, be their authentic selves, but also really move with purpose and move with intelligence and move with grace in in these areas. And I'm just such a huge fan of Shellie. So it was just an honor to have her kick off this session. So to tell you guys a little bit about Shellie, she is the executive director of Planned Parenthood Texas Votes and a fearless advocate for reproductive rights and justice. As you guys know, we live in the state of Texas where reproductive rights is always under attack. So it's awesome to have such fearless leadership in this space. With more than 20 years of cross-sector leadership experience, she previously served as the Deputy Executive Director of Operations and Development at Planned Parenthood Texas Votes and as Ops Director. She is a respected leader in progressive Texas politics and a former candidate and longtime Democratic organizer. So, Shellie, thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, for the sake of time, we're going to get into our questions, but I do want to give you the opportunity, if I left anything out, to introduce yourself and tell us more about you.
Um, I, I think you really covered everything. I'm so blessed and honored to lead the group that I lead. My comms director is on with us today. Her name is Samwina. I love my team. They are the fiercest bunch of Texas women I could ever have convened to do this work, and they are so young. And I think that's part of what we're missing in the political ecosystem right now is welcoming young people as collaborators and not just labor in this movement. So I'm very intentional about how my team is built out. It is led by a Black woman. My deputy executive director is a Black woman. All of my directors are badass Latinas,
Yeah.
and then our junior suite, we just have this mix of amazing young women across all spectrums. And the fact that I get to do this on a daily basis, just it makes me so happy. But they also realize that I'm a little bit crazy and I get up every day wanting to fight everybody. And all they do is like, who are we fighting? And they line up right behind me or right beside me. And we are ready to go to battle every day for women and reproductive rights in Texas. So I am married for 26 years. I've got two amazing Black women that my husband and I are raising. I have been in Texas politics for over 20 years, but in the reproductive justice movement for around five outside of, my own issues. So it's I don't know. I'm happy to be here today. I feel like it's going to be a great conversation, and I see a bunch of my friends up top, so
Yes,
it's
I
going
think
to
it's
be a good
going to
one.
be great. I think it's going to be a great conversation. One thing you said, and I feel like if you're watching, if you're joining us, you have to take some notes, okay? Because this is a vessel of wisdom that we have with us today. So be sure to take some notes. If you have questions, drop them in the chat. But what I will say, one thing that you mentioned was that you are allowing young people to join you as thought partners, as collaborators, not just laborers. And I feel like that is something that is valued by me. I'm a part of Gen Z, a very proud Gen Z member. And I think a lot of time Gen Z is reduced to that bucket of like, just do the work, earn your keep. But I think to hear you say that just tells me this is going to be a phenomenal conversation. And we are going to go ahead and get into the first question. So I want to know, especially with your background, you have such an incredible background. What first drew you to advocacy work with Planned Parenthood Texas Votes? And how has your personal background influenced your leadership approach?
Well, I came to Planned Parenthood Texas votes after first being a candidate. I ran for office in 2018. Um, was working for, then I went to work for Annie's List, which is another progressive organization in Texas that helps progressive women and also for pro abortion women get elected. I did that for, I feel like it was 4 years, might have been 4.5. And then Diana Limon Mercado, who is now the duly elected Travis County clerk, was the ED of PPTV at the time. And she and I have been friends for years, and she had been trying to pull me over to PPTV for a minute. And the stars just kind of aligned. I was ready to leave Annie's List and ready to step into the next step in whatever my journey was going to be, which I wasn't 100% sure that it was going to be in reproductive justice. I had been to pink outs at the Capitol. I've been in the streets, I've marched, I stood behind Wendy on the Capitol steps, just like all of the things. But I didn't know if my particular skill set was going to translate into the work that needed to be done in reproductive justice. And I did not come to this work the same path as most people. I was a Costco manager for 15 years,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
So I am not an organizer by trade. I am just a really bossy Capricorn with a vision.
Yes,
And,
Capricorn.
so coming to this organization and understanding that I have a deep operational background, but the longevity of any of these organizations, the longevity of all of our work is really based in deep operational infrastructure. We have to raise the money, we have to spend it wisely, we have to hire wisely, and then we also have to take care of our staff. And bringing all of that with me to PPTV, I think positioned me perfectly to take the helm in this last year or so, because the vision that I have for this organization for the next 5 to 10 years is to make sure we are fully operational if we are still in this fight in 10 years, and that the next person who steps into my shoes is not stepping into a mess.
Mm.
They'll step into an organization that has been led by a Black woman, that has been perfected by a Black woman, and then can live on with whoever takes over. So that part of it, just watching Diana and how she moved this organization from being extraordinarily, it was really built around the filibuster, around Wendy's filibuster. And the movement has changed so much because we have lost so many of our rights in Texas, where our work now is not just defending Planned Parenthood and access to healthcare via Planned Parenthood, but we also have to move elections, right? And the list that we have in Texas, 1.3 million folks who are Planned Parenthood supporters, who listen to us, who take our advice, who look at us for advice around who they should vote for. That's our real job now, is how do we get back to where we were pre-Roe. But my personal background, to get back to the question, my personal background, I've been Black for 56 years. So it's being moving through this world as a Black woman always has its challenges. I am the daughter and granddaughter of Black women who had limited access to reproductive health care. A grandmother who did not have access to birth control at all and ended up having 14 kids.
Wow.
And just knowing that in my own reproductive health journey, being told by a doctor that I was too fat to get pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah. Just all of these things. And knowing that Black women historically have been underrepresented when it comes to the fight for their reproductive health, whether it's fibroid research, whether it's breast cancer, whether it's ovarian cancer. Just all of these things, our concerns are brushed under the rug, and we also don't have healthcare professionals who look like us, right, and will listen to us. So it's been quite the journey. And then also Planned Parenthood has its own history of racism, to put it
Mm.
very bluntly. It was not, I do believe Planned Parenthood was started with the best of intentions, but when it was started, we were definitely not where we are on the racial spectrum now. So I think Planned Parenthood over the years has definitely tried to right the wrongs. You know what I mean? I'm the first Black woman to lead this statewide work
Wow.
in Texas. Alexis McGill Johnson is the first Black woman to lead Planned Parenthood National, our CEO. So we have a lot of work to do to make Planned Parenthood look more welcoming to women who look like us, and also men who look like us, because we also serve men and our non-binary brothers and sisters. But we are trying, me personally, I am trying my best to make sure that the communities we serve, our leadership looks that way. Um, so yeah.
No, and I think you dropped so many good points, but I think one that really stuck with me is this idea about the start. And you said that you started at Costco, that you had been at Costco for all of these years. And I think especially as Black women in this particular space in politics, sometimes we get siloed. It's like if you've only done digital, you have to do digital for the rest of your life. If you've done, policy work, you have to do policy work for the rest of your life. And I think there are so many individuals who want to join this space, who want to do this work, who may not previously have that experience or who may not previously have done this work. Like you said, you weren't an organizer by trade, but you were an organizer at heart. You were an organizer just because of who you were. And so there are so many individuals who would love to get into this work, but feel like, oh, can I actually do it? Can I actually do it? So I think you are a testament to that. And I think it's just so beautiful to see this leadership. To your earlier point, I spoke to a candidate recently and we said this. It's 2026. Why do we still have so many firsts as Black women? Why are we still dealing with you being the first, with Alexis being the first? That is just, it's
Mhm.
it's just amazing to me that we are still dealing with so many firsts. But what I will say is that just because you are the first, you will not be the last because we now have representation and we now have individuals that know because of Shellie, I can do this work. Because of Alexis, I can do this work. So that's just, it's great to hear. It's inspiring to hear. And it's just such a unique experience that we all share. With that being said, as a Black woman leader in reproductive justice and political advocacy, what are the unique challenges and strengths that you feel you bring into these conversations?
I think my challenges and my strengths are one and the same. I'm a Black woman,
Mm,
just right off the top. We're having this conversation right now around electability,
yes.
which has been, we'll call it supercharged. Um, and it's not just electability for Black women. It's, can a Black woman run an organization? Can a Black woman lead in academia? Can a Black woman, can you be a CEO? Can you be a judge? Can you do all of these things? Because we are always doubted from the beginning, right? From the jump. And we are consistently asked to prove and overprove whether or not we are worthy of any power that's still being granted to us, because we do live in a white supremacist society. So we have power that we have fought for, but we also have power that is still being granted to us by white society. My superpower, however, is as a Black woman, I'm scared of my mama, and that's about it. Literally, I am. I don't have the choice or the luxury of going through this world afraid.
Mm,
I don't have. We don't get the mulligans that non-Black women are allowed. We don't get the second chances. We don't get the funding. There are a lot of organizations where, and it also happened to me, when you take over, folks, there's a wait and see attitude.
mm,
It's, well, I'm going to wait and see if her campaign is viable. I'm going to wait and see if she can run this organization. I'm going to hang on to my money until this person has proven to me that they are worthy of my investment in them. So those are challenges, but I see them very clearly. And for me, that's a strength, because I'll tackle them head on, and with my staff, my understanding of the game is 56 years long, right? So as I'm building them out and helping them start to move through this world, because the political world, it still has, tinges of racism, even inside of the Democratic Party, but also inside of the nonprofit world, right? There is still rhetoric out there that Black people cannot be trusted with money.
mm,
And I think it makes us overly cautious. It can kind of tamp down our ambition when we need to dream big to have big results. But what we need from other people at times, whether it's edification, whether it's their funding, can kind of keep us down just a little bit. And I'll give an example. I ran for office in 2018, and it was myself and these two lovely white gentlemen. And at the time, I'm confident in every area of my life except for running for office. And I allowed myself to be put on a slate with these two lovely white men, thinking that my blackness was not going to be enough for me to win, that I needed the cover of their whiteness in order for me to be an electable candidate. And when I tell you I got more votes than both of those men,
Wow.
yeah. And from that moment on, I am like, nope, this factory tent is everything that I need.
Yep.
I will stand fully in who I am and in my power and tell everybody I know that they can do the same thing. So, this electability conversation that is happening right now is 7 different levels of ridiculousness
Yeah.
because we have been doing the things, right? And I started this race. I started the city council race basically based in fighting for one of my sons is on the spectrum, and just fighting the school system
Yeah.
on his behalf, advocating for my Black son, who was the only Black child in his neighborhood
Wow.
class, and also not being included as he needed to be and wasn't getting the services that he needed. So I had to turn into that mom fighting the school system on behalf of my son, which then led to so many other things. So when you think you're pigeonholed into being a suburban mom with 2 toddlers, you are not. You are not pigeonholed into policy work. You are not pigeonholed into doing, would you say, digital earlier, or converting PDFs for old people who don't know how to do it. You know what I'm saying? There are so many things and options that we have if we step out of our fear and just step into our greatness. And my greatness just happens to be Black.
Yes, I love that. And I think about the conversation around electability, we have heard it's a tale as old as time, right? Black women can't lead, Black women can't run. And if they do run, they may not win. I think obviously with this Senate race here in Texas, it's just reinvigorated. It's just it's noise, right? It's noise, and it really pushes people away from the end all be all, which is that we are working to create a democracy that is representative. We are working to create a democracy that is inclusive. And I think when conversations like that happen, if you don't have the previous knowledge, if you don't know about the Barbara Jordans, about the Sheila Jackson Lees, about the Eddie
Mm-hmm.
Bernice Johnsons, you can easily fall into that trap of, well, I'm not going to donate until she can prove herself. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
share this post until I feel she can prove herself. And I think it just pushes us back. So I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's such a huge conversation that's happening right now. Just
Let
to
me ask you this,
Oh, go
Michaela.
ahead.
I'm going to
Yeah, go
interrupt you
ahead.
real quick because I'm me. Um, we're talking about electability, and it always cracks me up because the second Michelle Obama puts something out on the internet, what's the first thing that somebody says?
Oh, when are you going to run for president?
When you gonna run for
When are
president,
you going to run for president?
right? But
I'm
Black
still
women aren't
asking.
electable, right? Black women aren't electable. But we obviously have to be the right kind of Black woman.
Exactly.
We have to be a
Absolutely.
palatable Black woman. We can't be a firebrand. We can't be, controversial, which is basically us just telling people the truth. But that always cracks me up. And this whole conversation that is happening right now, and I'm like, the next person who tells me that Michelle Obama needs to run for
Mhm.
office, yeah,
We got to send
there's
them
going
the
to be
thread,
words.
the tweets.
So
No,
many
and I think
words.
to your point, Michelle Obama, I want to say she was doing it for her recent book that came out. She was on a book tour, and someone in the crowd, they were doing a Q&A, and they said, "When are you running for office? Like, I would love to vote for you." And she said, "Y'all just had the opportunity to put a black woman in the White House, and y'all still voted against her." She just
Yeah.
said that. And so I think to your point, a lot of people don't know what they want, right? Is it that we're not electable, or is it that you want us to be the cleanup crew? Is it that we're not electable, or you only want to elect us when you feel like it's the right type of black woman? Are we not
Yeah.
electable, or is it that you only want one very specific woman to run? So it's like, what do you want? And it's the same message locally, across the state, across this country, and we see it every single election cycle. And I think
Hmm.
even worse is that we see these incredibly qualified black women that consistently, and you know what, I won't say mediocre, I don't think that's the right choice of words, but we see them go against these white men that
Mm-hmm.
do not have the same qualifications, who do not have the same experience. And yes, someone in the chat just said the goalpost keeps moving,
Yes.
and I think if we were to flip it on its head and you had an incredibly qualified white man with the same accolades of these black women, they say, well, why are they not running? But then you flip it and it's like, no, 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 not you, not you. And so I think, again, we are seeing it happen across the country. And it's unfortunate because there are young black women who want to run for office who are also seeing these things as well. And my hope with, not only my platform, but with conversations like these is that we know and we can encourage them to continue the fight. And I think it's so important. But I see that comment, well, why don't you run for office? Or people tell you or tell me or whoever, well, why don't you run? Now, why
Exactly.
would I go and do that? And y'all just told me I wasn't electable yesterday. Y'all gotta make up
Exactly.
your mind. You gotta make up your mind. Yes, I love that. So I think one thing that I want to talk about is Planned Parenthood in its totality, right? There are so many individuals who do not fully understand Planned Parenthood and the work of Planned Parenthood. How do you best explain not only the work of the organization, but the overall package that is Planned Parenthood? Because I think a lot of people sort of, they sort of push it down or smush it down into one single argument. But there's so much work that Planned Parenthood is doing.
So I will preface this by saying we are Planned Parenthood Texas Votes. We are a separate entity to the healthcare side of it. I tell people we do the politics, they do the pap smears, and that's about the best way to explain it. And Judge Shannon, I see your comment down there. I mean,
Mhm.
plus one, plus one. The thing about Planned Parenthood is one, there's a few misconceptions. Planned Parenthood does not just administer abortions. And while that has been a large part of the work of Planned Parenthood across the United States, we, of course, do not administer, and I say we, as in they, do not administer abortions in Texas. But Planned Parenthood offers a full spectrum of healthcare services. There's STI, STD testing. There are breast cancer screenings. There are uterine cancer screenings. We have diabetes screenings, birth control, long-term birth control. You can get an IUD. You can get an implant. Regular, just oral birth control. You can. There's telehealth. So with Texas, there's a dearth of rural healthcare. And one of the things that PPGT does a fantastic job of, I think, is providing telehealth options. As long as you have Wi Fi and you are somewhere in the state, you are able to access Planned Parenthood care. The thing about Planned Parenthood, however, is that we have been, and I keep saying we, I mean they, kicked out of the Medicaid system, and we also don't get any funding from the state. So they are 100% donor dependent to administer healthcare in Texas. They do take insurance, so they have a tough road to hoe because we have our communities, who need Planned Parenthood healthcare services, but due to funding restrictions, Prevention Park just closed in Houston, and that was the largest Planned Parenthood in the Houston area. So you still have four locations that are open, but this is what politics in Texas is doing to healthcare in Texas. Planned Parenthood is a huge part of the safety net, the healthcare safety net in Texas. And what the last 10 years has shown is that it cannot be replaced. CBCs, the fake pregnancy centers, they don't offer healthcare. They get millions of dollars from the state to not offer health care, where Planned Parenthood is still out here scraping pennies together to offer quality health care to whoever needs it, whoever walks through the door. Planned Parenthood doesn't care about your immigration status. They just care whether you get the care that you need. And we were in Illinois during the quorum break with Governor Pritzker, go JB. And we love Juliana.
Love Juliana.
We love
Love me
Juliana.
some Juliana.
Yes.
Yes.
We love Juliana, but we were there, and it was just such a moment of gratitude for them being a haven for Texas patients. Where they had so many Texans coming to Illinois just to get care,
Yeah.
whether it's to save their lives, whether it's to get them out of a relationship with a domestic partner who was not kind to them, whether or just because you need an abortion. because that's really nobody's business, right? If you need an abortion, you need an abortion, and you should be able to get one. It should just be between you and your doctor, not you and Greg Abbott, and you and Danny Gottlieb, or you and Ken Paxton. So it is just this era that we are in right now of folks still ostracizing Planned Parenthood and judging Planned Parenthood because they have provided abortion services. They are keeping folks from coming to Planned Parenthood for the rest of the health care that they need and can get.
Wow. Whew, just so much to unpackage. So now shifting to Planned Parenthood Texas Vote. One thing that I love, I was recently charged with doing a voter guide for Black Girls Politicking. What
I
no
saw
one
that.
told me, thank you, what no one told me was how much work goes into making these voter guides. And one of the greatest resources was the Planned Parenthood Texas Votes page because I could see who was voting or who you guys were actually pushing for
Mm-hmm.
individuals to vote for. And I think that's such a huge part of it because so many people were asking, well, what do they say about reproductive health care? What are they saying about reproductive justice? And I'm like, let me tell you, there's a resource who is doing that work. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna send you right on over there. So I think that's a huge part of it. So one thing about Texas, one thing that we know about Texas is that we have always been central in a lot of these reproductive justice fights. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing that a lot of people don't know is that Roe v. Wade actually took place right here in the state of Texas. With that
Everybody's
foundation, sure, thank you. With that foundation, Planned Parenthood Texas Votes works to create a Texas where everyone, and I'm gonna say that again, everyone has the power to decide their future. What does that look like in practice post Roe, and what are some of the initiatives that you guys are pushing to do so?
Woo, what does that look like post Roe? Well, first we have to recognize that Roe was like never the finish line,
Hmm.
right? Um, they want a national abortion ban, and we scream from the top, from the rooftops, that what happens in Texas does not stay in Texas.
Hmm.
We are the home of the heartbeat bill. We are the reason that Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, we are the reason that these states now have extraordinarily restrictive abortion bans. So it is, for us, post Roe means getting us back to where everyone has the ideological freedom to access reproductive health care as they see fit. And you mentioned our website, but I do want to make sure folks understand that not only are we talking to candidates about reproductive health care, we are also talking to them about their alignment and their support of the LGBTQ plus community, because Planned Parenthood also offers gender affirming care, right? We are talking to them. We also talk to them about their stands on immigration, because Planned Parenthood doesn't care about your immigration status.
Yep.
We just care about healthcare. So for us, looking at where we are post Roe, that's just kind of like the tipping point, I think, for extremely limiting policies. They're going to get worse. My personal opinion and my professional opinion, they're coming for birth control next. Um, it is They will come for any means to force women to have babies in this country. And if it means RFK Jr. saying that birth control is dangerous, which I'm telling you is coming, that's going to be the tipping point, right? And Texas will jump right out there in the lead, going, okay, well, we need to start banning birth control really, really quick. We need to start making it a Schedule 4 drug. We need to start doing this because someone has signaled from the White House that this is the next step to limiting bodily autonomy and also replenishing parts of society that they feel like are being minimalized at the moment. But the other thing that we have to look at is how are we as an organization affecting the health of women in this state. It was mentioned from the stage yesterday at Versus that Harris County is one of the most dangerous, it's the most dangerous spot for a Black woman to be pregnant. You have the highest rates of Black maternal mortality in the country in Harris County. So, how are we, as we look at the fact that Texas does not have ballot initiatives, so we do not have the hope of a Kansas or an Ohio, how are we getting back to access to abortion? How are we getting back to unfettered access to reproductive health care? And there's only one way to do it, and that's winning elections. if we want a ballot initiative that is going to help enshrine access to abortion into the Constitution, has to go against the House floor. We currently don't hold the House. We just broke the Senate supermajority, Taylor Remitt. But what we do elections wise, whether it's protecting incumbents or it is helping flip seats that we think we can move the needle in, and then sometimes in Texas, and everybody needs to hear this really, really clearly, the win is moving the needle. We don't get to jump in leaps and bounds like the rest of the country. We are not Virginia. So our wins at times are just holding the line. And that's kind of where we are right now. We are holding the line. We are trying to negate bad legislation. We are trying to amend bad legislation or stop legislation during the ledge. We did it a couple of times this last session, but it's fighting redistricting. It is taking our place in our lane. So my lane is reproductive health care.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Reproductive health care. That's where we work. There are so many other organizations out there who are working in immigration. There are organizations out there who are working in climate change. There are organizations out there who are working in, dark money, all of those things. Our lane is talking to our supporters and making sure we elect folks who align with our values around reproductive justice and access to reproductive health care. So we are laser focused on electing people who align with our values, of course, and then two, moving our folks to vote, because there's a huge difference between yay C3 healthcare and like C4 let's go fight the man all the time. So it's how do we talk to, like you said, y'all are huge advocates for Planned Parenthood in the Houston area. How do we move that advocacy for Planned Parenthood and encouraging folks to go to healthcare to going to vote?
Yeah, absolutely.
How do we make those two things one and the same? If we are, yes, everybody needs access to abortion, please go to Planned Parenthood for your health care. How do we get you to also vote in every election? And understanding that a good city council can keep your city from becoming a sanctuary city for the unborn or a sanctuary city for guns. I see you, Leslie, I get you. A good county commission can also help direct federal funding towards healthcare, right? That your county judge is extraordinarily important, that your district attorney is important, that your school board is where you can fight for science-based sex education. So every election counts, and that's where we are right now. It's not just, we don't do a lot of congressional work, but there's a statewide race, and statewide races are not gerrymandered. Everybody say it with me. Statewide races are not
Very.
gerrymandered. Every vote counts. Every vote counts. So, but if you're not looking at the bottom of your ballot, if you're not looking at your judicial races, I mean, y'all's ballot is what, 40 pages
Yes,
in
it's
Harris
very
County?
long,
I mean,
extremely long. It's
it's
long.
so long. And I think we have 13 Dem propositions on this ballot. So the research and what you're doing, Michaela, we're providing folks a resource that they can print and take with them to the ballot, because you can't have your phone when you go vote. We all know this, but giving them the resources and being a trusted resource yourself, because we are a trusted resource. But as you and some of your colleagues are also becoming trusted resources because you're doing the research, you're talking to us, you're talking to Planned Parenthood, you're talking to other candidates, you're talking to other campaigns, and you're providing fact-based advice for folks who are going to vote. So on our side, in practice, we are trying to ensure that Black women, as they are one of the most educated populations in the United States, have access to everything that they need, and understanding that access to abortion can mean breaking the cycle of poverty for folks, because the majority of women who receive an abortion already have children. And there is a reason they are wanting to terminate a pregnancy. So it could be their personal ambitions. It could be their family is not financially in the right place for another child. But for Black women, having that autonomy is just, it's paramount to just our freedom. in this country. So we will keep fighting for that here in Texas, post-Roe, however that looks, however it shows up. Um, I mean, I'm always ready. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you touched on so many important topics. One being to go vote. If you are on this call, we all have a network, we all have influence. I tell people this all the time. You do not have to be an influencer to have influence. You all know someone, we all know someone that we can encourage to go vote. That is very important. Early voting is underway right now in Texas, and there are so many things on the ballot. And I think there's two other things that I just want to touch on. One is voter fatigue, right? So I think when thinking about Houston in particular, CD 18, the congressional district, these individuals have voted at least three times in the past year. You know, voter fatigue is very real. It gets exhausting, but I think what's even more exhausting is losing our rights because we did not do our due diligence. I think even more so than that is just the opportunity to have a voice. I work in politics. I work for a county commissioner's office, and even going into this role, I was like, I did not know the amount of work these offices truly do and how much money they touch and how many individual lives we have the ability to impact because of the work of local
Mm-hmm.
government. There are so many individuals who do not know who their county commissioner is, who do not know who their city council member is, but we have to hold them accountable, right? If we do the due diligence of going to the polls and voting, you have
Mm-hmm.
to hold them accountable. That's one part of being civically engaged. And I did see a question in the chat, so I want to get to that one real quick. Leslie asked, are you seeing cases involving reproductive rights come up in local courts? And if so, how and in what capacity?
So I think the most famous case is the Zorowski case, but there haven't, the other cases that have been flowing through Texas have been in relation to medication abortion and the misuse of medication abortion by domestic partners trying to induce an abortion in their partner. So, what we're not seeing, although that is an abortion related crime, it has more to do with access to medication abortion rather than administering abortions, if that makes sense.
Thank you for explaining that. And let's talk about instant gratification for a second. I think with social media, people assume that a lot of these things happen very fast, that we get results very fast, that we get wins very fast. One thing you mentioned was that we are not in the business right now of moving the bounds. We are simply trying to hold the line with a lot of the things that are happening right here in Texas. My question for you is how does your work specifically with Planned Parenthood Texas Votes balance immediate advocacy like legislation or litigation responses with long-term movement building?
Ooh, okay, so immediacy. Um, a lot of times in the world as it is today, advocacy needs to be quick.
Mhm.
So, we went through three legislative sessions this year or last year. We had three sessions, three grueling sessions. They were not fun by any means, but our supporters sent over 40,000 emails to the ledge fighting bad bills. And because they could do it quickly, folks will tap in if they don't have to take more than 60 to 90 seconds, right? If you give them a script, they'll call, they'll email, they'll text, whatever it is that they need to do. So the immediate need is for us to stay ready. My team during Ledge, I mean, when I say they work 24/7, they work 24/7 because Texas moves so fast. I mean, the Ledge moves so fast that we have to be ready to one, analyze a bill. We might have to send it up to our national office for more analysis, figure out what the best way for us to fight that bill is, and then call in our supporters so they can also be on the record. We testify at the Capitol. We have one of the biggest lobby days in the United States. Our lobby days are amazing. If you've never been to a PPTV lobby day, come out in 2027. But the immediate need and it's always for answers, right? So my team, our political director, Darcy Caballero, and her team, Alex and Grace, spend so much time analyzing legislation, but we also work in conjunction with our allies in the repro movement. We work with the other abortion funds. We work with the ACLU. We work with T-Fund. We work with AVOW to make sure that we're not missing anything. But it also means for us, we've got to get that information in the hands of our champions at the ledge. So if we're going into, if they need talking points regarding reproductive health on the House floor, I want them asking us. We should be the experts in that. We should be the only person there, the only group that they are turning to, and that happens quite a bit. So we are quick turnaround in Texas. Doesn't always get us long-term results, but we are always quick turnaround. The other part of your question, which is long-term movement building, is if we are not consistent in showing up, which at times I think our organization as a whole can be risk averse because we just have so much at stake. But if we are not consistent with how we show up, if we disappear for a minute, if we are not talking to our supporters, if we don't stay in the fight and we're not leading the fight when we're supposed to, if we're not leading the fight when we're called to do it, we don't have long-term movement building, because we can't ask folks to tap in and tap out all the time. We have to always be there. And it's exhausting. It is tiring work because, access to abortion in Texas and our loss of bodily autonomy weighs on my team, and it weighs on our supporters, and they look to us for hope, right? And granted, I am a Black woman, but I am not a magical Black woman. So there are times when the truth has to be told, and the truth is right now we're holding the line.
Yeah.
Right? Do we have plans to win? Most definitely. But how we get there changes like on a daily basis. We don't have the playbook for winning in Texas yet. I know what we need to do. I know where we need to go. We have the people to get it done. But it's how do we maintain that momentum where we're not just rage donating, we're not rage voting. We are consistent in our movement across the state 365 days out of the year. And that's really what we're working on right now is how do we take our work from being extremely urban centered, because our work has always been centered around where Planned Parenthood has health centers, right? I'm a statewide organization. We have 254 counties to cover.
Oh
So our biggest pivot in 26 and 25 and 26 is how do we talk to our entire state? And that, I mean, that's where the secret is. That's the secret sauce right there is how do we talk to the entire state? We know that 85% of Planned Parenthood supporters vote.
yeah.
2024 election, our people came out to vote, and they voted hard. So it's how do we get them to do that in their local elections? How do we get them to do that in their city council elections? How do we get them to do that in school board elections? And how do we get them to do it in statewide elections? Because say it again, statewide elections are not gerrymandered. So yeah, the long-term movement building is me being consistent in my leadership, me being consistent in leading my team to the fight, and then my team being consistent in supporting our supporters when they need us with either information, advice, candidates, or other resources.
Yeah, and I think that's so important that people know how to get involved and where to start. One thing that I just love, and I think we've talked about it so many times, but there's this magical, mythical idea of Black girl magic. And just for a second, if you could talk to that or speak to that, how does one, as a Black woman, we are up against so many things, right? And then we're still doing the work. And sometimes it feels like Black girl magic is a little bit of a myth. How do you combat, just honestly being exhausted? Like this fight can be hard. It can be mentally exhaustive, it can be financially exhaustive, physically exhaustive. How do you continue to do this work when everything just feels so hard? And there's a news cycle every day where we are actively seeing the I won't say demise, but the hardships of our country, coupled with the fact that we are all online 24/7 seeing
Mhm.
things. How do you balance that?
I have to have a lot of discipline. Um, I don't show up where I'm not valued.
Mm, that's good.
Period. I say no to multiple things, and I used to show up to everything. I would go to 4 events in one day, 20 events in one week, spend my weekends doing this and that. And I really stopped going where I was going to be tokenized or I could not see what how they were going to value me, not how I felt like I was going to be valued. And if their how they were going to value me did not equal what I think, I'm not going. I This work is hard. I have a husband and kids and all in a house and all of the things, right? So I know what battles I need to fight, and Black women don't have to fight all of them.
Oof, say that again.
We are we are expected to lead the fight, right? It's like why aren't Black people out marching in the streets for ICE? It's more dangerous if we come out there. It really is. The second we step into that, here they come. And they will come with the force of everything they can put behind it to cause harm, not just to the Black people, but to the non-Black people in the mix. So as I am looking at, is it really worth me being here? Is it going to benefit my organization? Is it going to benefit our work? And is it going to enhance me? Because my work is very personal
Mm.
to me, whether it's Planned Parenthood or it is mentoring other young Black women, mentoring Black women electeds. Um, we are there's a scholarship in my name. It's the Shellie Hayes-McMahon Scholarship for Black Women in Politics, and getting it was so edifying for that to happen because I you just go help. I see a Black woman who needs help, so you just go help her, right? And you don't think about the long-term effects of that. You don't think about the fact that I got a text the other day from the new mayor of Leander, and she said 5 years ago you said you were going to help me, you were going to work to help me become mayor, and she's getting sworn in next week.
Wow.
She's now the mayor of Leander, and I when it comes to Black women, I don't think about the weight. I don't think about um, the work because we are worth every minute. We are worth every dime. We are worth every minute I spend away from my family. If I can dedicate it to helping Black women in this country and in this state, I do it. But I weigh very heavily the work I do for non-Black women because we don't have the advantages, right? We start behind the eight ball every single time. So I consistently consistently will fight for Black women all the time, and I don't always get to do it the way that I want because my job at times has limitations. But I see Leslie on there. Hey, Leslie. Um, she is also Leslie's running for office. She's up here in
Yes.
Lansing, right? So we are. Anytime a Black woman needs me, everybody's got my phone number. You got my email. I will go right in, right? You might not like what I have to say because I'm extraordinarily realistic. You may not like what I have to say, but I'm never going to tell you anything to your detriment. I'm not going to crush your dreams. I'm going to help you dream bigger. We're just going to help you figure out how to get there. And that's in these 56 years, mentoring so many young women along the way. Our PV chapter, and I'm gonna shout out our PV chapter real quick before we go. We have we have an organizing chapter at Prairie View A&M. They are the Pink Panthers. If you're not following them on social media, please do.
Yes.
Um, our young women and young men at PV, they are over 400 strong. They are VDRs. They are sexual health educators. They are peer educators on campus. They are mental health advocates. They are doing the work of Planned Parenthood in their community, and their community is Prairie View. We have another chapter at Paul Quinn. HBCUs are very dear to my heart. We have another chapter up at Paul Quinn called Shape, and they are doing the same work. So this investment in our young Black women and our young Black men um, is very important
Yeah.
to
And I
me.
think that's so special. There are so many individuals, especially young individuals, where a lot of us, we want to do something, right? We want to join clubs, we want to be politically active, but sometimes it's just like, where do we start? There's so many individuals who have the passion who are like, so where do I start? Where do I go? And I think to have individuals like yourself, because I will say this, it's also a rarity sometimes that you have individuals that will pick up those calls, that will answer those texts for a multitude of reasons, right? I have some phenomenal, phenomenal Black women mentors. And, I've told them as I've gotten older and I've begun to mentor individuals myself, I'm like, I get why you don't answer the phone sometimes. Like, I truly understand it. I get why you can't immediately respond to the text message because your full-time job, as much as I would love for it to be, is not being my mentor. You are doing other incredible work. And so I think that's so important for individuals to recognize and to learn. And yes, I am going to allow you to shout them out one more time so that people can go and support them. If these young individuals are doing the work, please support them, even if it's with a follow. It's free to follow people on social media. So please
It sure is.
support them. Yes, the Pink Panthers, we will be, as soon as this is over, I will be sharing their work because I think that is so important, that they are taking the time to do that work. And one thing you mentioned, about not going where you are, wanted. There's been this conversation around Kamala Harris and people asking, well, where is she? Why is she not speaking more about this? Well, you didn't give her the job, baby.
You didn't hire her.
You didn't.
Exactly.
You
She's at
didn't.
home where she should be.
She's at home. She's been a citizen because that's where you put her. And so, there's this idea too where they still want Black women to lead, even when they did not give them the opportunity to do so. And so I think, it's unfortunate because there are so many incredible Black women doing this work and they don't vote for them. And then they're like, well, why didn't you show up to this? Where's Barack Obama? I'm like, I hope they are somewhere happy and being a citizen because that is what you chose to reduce them to. So, congratulations.
Exactly.
You played
We
yourself.
have a lot of we get a lot of I want to pick your brain but not fill your pocket
Mm. Ooh.
when it comes to black just black people, period, especially black women. And when you talk about Michelle and you talk about Vice President Harris, she's living in her mansion, chilling.
Mhm. As she
You know what I'm
should
saying? She
be.
is out on her book tour. She is exactly where you said she should be because you said she shouldn't be in the White House. So why does she need to come riding in to save you? I mean, I don't know. But there's that, and you said this and you hinted at it. It's not necessarily where you're wanted, it's where you're valued because we are wanted everywhere,
Mhm.
right? Our presence is wanted, our magicality is wanted, but are we valued when we get there? And having is discernment, right? Where every opportunity is not a good opportunity for us. It may be beneficial for the folks on the other end, but not necessarily for us. And we cannot afford to keep loaning people courage
Ooh.
when they don't want to bank their own.
Mm.
So, Black people, especially Black women, what we have to loan folks so they can go vote, what we have to loan them so they can go have the conversation with the racist Uncle Bob, what we have to loan them is a drain on our resources. It's a drain on our families. And it gets to a point where, these folks you got to man up yourself. You have got to start. I say this all the time. The work that we have to do takes the courage of the oppressed.
Mm.
And if you have not been oppressed, and I mean seriously oppressed, this work is going to seem hard to you. You are not going to have the longevity that you need to stick with it. You may have moments, you might be able to march with a little sign that has a cute saying on it. I get a pink hat, get a blue bracelet, whatever it is, but that is not long-term work. That is not long-term courage. So as we are sitting here on Black History Month, understanding that this courage that we don't have a choice but to have,
Mm.
not everyone has it. And they will keep asking us for hours, keep asking us for hours. Can I borrow this? Can I borrow you as the face of this movement? Can I borrow you? Because then it looks courageous,
Mhm.
right? It looks bold if you are putting a Black woman in front of it. We have to start saying no. We do. We have to start saying no. They have to start finding their own courage. They have to find somebody else to quote besides Dr. King.
Ooh.
They have to find someone inside of their community who moves them to do this work on behalf of folks who don't look like them. And that's what they haven't figured out yet. We've done it for years. We do work for folks who don't look like us all
Mhm.
the time, 24 hours a day. That's where this gap is right now, is they still need us and they still want us, but when are they just going to step up without us having to be in the mix? And that's kind of where they're floundering right now. But
And you said
okay.
you said a word, okay? You said a word. All of that was just so, so good. We are coming up to the last 4 minutes. So if there's anyone in here that has questions for Shelly, please drop them in the chat so that we can pass this on. But as we begin to close, for you, Shelly, looking ahead, what are the key areas where you see opportunities for collective power building, and how can people plug in meaningfully?
I think Samuelina dropped something in the chat. She's going to have some links in the chat
Yeah.
for everyone to get on. If you want our emails,
Mhm.
following us on social media is always fantastic. But it's it's finding out what works for you. You know, are you a text banker? Are you a phone banker? Are you a door knocker? Um, are you somewhat, I hate postcards, but people are still writing them. It's how do you get plugged in where you are comfortable? And then how do you talk to me so I know our organization is welcoming to you on its face? Um, Breaking through into the Black community as Planned Parenthood has been hard just because of the history of Planned Parenthood. So I'm always open to constructive criticism. I am always open to ideas about how we can better connect with Black women across the state. You know, I'm in Harris County, wherever we need to go. I travel all the time. I will show up if you need me, but it's really us figuring out. I don't think that Black women are egotistical by nature, right? We are so collaborative, but we need to collaborate on so many different levels to get us to the mountaintop. And I know what level we are on, but it's how do we take that into the community, collaborate with the community, and then do the work that the community needs, not what I think they need.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's just so helpful. There are so many individuals, like I said, who want to get involved. I think you have given us so many incredible gems. I just want to let everyone know you will receive a full recording of this chat in your inbox as soon as this is over. Planned Parenthood Texas, Samina to be exact, was so kind and sent over some resource guides. So there's a ton of materials that you will be receiving as soon as this call is over. I want to say thank you so much to Shelly and team because they were just so kind, not only so kind, but just so excited and so willing to be a part of this today. This is the first ever session, and it was very important to me that we have it on the 90th, or what would have been the 90th birthday of Barbara Jordan, because she is such a trailblazer in our country, and she just really reshaped the game, and is one of my favorite people to bring up when we talk about electability, because they didn't think she could do it either, and she did it twice. And so I think that's something that we have
No,
to.
that's right.
Okay, she did it twice. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined. You could be anywhere on this beautiful Saturday here in Texas and Houston specifically. It is a beautiful, beautiful Saturday, and you could be anywhere, but you chose to be here with Black Girls Politic and with Shelly. So I want to say thank you. We do have some messages in the chat, and I also want to let you guys know that for the next session of the table, we have welcomed someone so exciting, Judge Catherine Thomas. She is the youngest judge to be sworn in the state of Texas. And so we are so excited to welcome her. More information will be available for that. And yes, if you are not following Planned Parenthood Texas Votes on social media, you have to do so. I know Samina dropped it in the chat. We will tag it on social media just so you guys have it. And I want to say thank you again. This was just such a beautiful conversation. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Shelly, for just sharing all of your wisdom with us, because you have so much of it. And I hope you guys have a beautiful and blessed rest of your Saturday.